Hi, I'm Nathan and this is a review of Shijie guitars, particularly the Shijie strats, but I also have a TM series Shijie. As you'll see in these photos, I had 4 of them. One of them has been snapped up already. Why would I purchase 4, you might ask? Well, I wanted to see how consistent this brand is. I wanted to see how well they performed, and I've also waited about 5-6 weeks before I put this review out so I know how they perform. Also, Shijie is not paying me to do this. They did not give me these guitars for any discounted price. Bought them just like anyone else. But hey, I can feed you my bank account if you want, Shijie. I'm currently a full-time guitar tutor, and I've been doing that for years. I used to work in musical retail, selling guitars and setting them up and doing basic repairs for the shop. My main guitar that I've been using over the last half a dozen years, I've had plenty of guitars, but this has been a keeper. It's a Fender Strat Deluxe 06. I put Michael Landau's Suhr pickups, the ML series pickups, in the front and middle, and I put a Semour Duncan's hot rails in the back, just because I like that SSH setup. And for you New Zealand guys who might be interested in this sort of product, please get a hold of me on this email here. I'd love to get a hold of you and chat. I've got a few things in the pipeline that may well interest you. So let's get into it. So firstly, I'm not too worried about the label on the headstock, but what is important to me is, does the guitar look good? Does it have an appeal? Does it feel good? And does it use top product? When I say that, I mean, does it use good wood in the body and the neck? Is the hardware good? The pickups, the tremolo, the electronics, the tuners, are they using good stuff there? And most important to me is how consistent is this brand? Will you know when you get it in your hands, is it going to be like they say it is? And behind it also, are there good luthiers that have got their eyes, as guitar players would see it, tuned into the instrument as they put it together, and do they finish it well? Those sort of things are really important to me, and I believe this company here does it really well. All these guitars use roasted maple for the neck, and what that is, if you haven't heard of that, it's a process where they get the maple and they heat it up and it removes the moisture, and therefore it's brings less chance of it reacting in weather and climate changes, and just easier to manage because it should be more consistent. It should stay nice and straight, so less tweaking basically, and those attributes also can bring more tone and sustain. They call the neck contour a C shape. I would say it's slightly thicker than what I'm used to with the Fender standard dimensions, but it feels right. It doesn't feel out of place. It's not as thick as like a PRS, but feels really good. So happy as with that. On the TM series, it's a bit thinner. It's actually more Fender-like, more standard Fender contour-ish, I would say. So happy with both of them. The contour is great. The frets on the standard and the TM series guitar use Jessica nickel, which is industry standard. It's very good, no problems there. On this custom, they have got a stainless steel frets. The jury's out on that one. For me personally, I've heard indifferent. I heard it might be hard on the strings. I haven't seen any problems so far. It feels good. The advantage of that, it should basically not need replacing or just upgrading from luthiers, with no dressing or anything should be needed. It should really last a lot longer, if not forever. All the guitars that are pulled out of the box, their fretwork and their finish was absolutely incredibly good. It was just the way they could feel it from right through, really well polished, and right down the sides here. You could see they had spent good time finishing and making sure that these frets felt amazing, and you want that. This is where you do a lot of the work on the instrument, and you're playing that all the time. You want something that feels right. These guitars have that. So well done, Shijie. I think you've done a great work with the frets there. The machine heads they use on the custom are a Goto locking system. As you'll see on both the strats, they've gone for that vintage look. These machine heads are really good. I've taken the strings off and on and tuned it up and down numerous times, and they feel really good. Probably the nicest machine heads, nicest locking system I've had so far, really. On the back of the standard, they use Custom machine heads. I believe they used to use Wilkinson, but they had some inconsistent things happen with the Wilkinson that they weren't happy with, so they've gone to Custom, which what I understand really good, so no problems there. On the TM series, they use the Goto, more modern looking machine heads, but yeah, so they use good stuff there, which is great, good work. All these guitars use bone for their nut, which is pretty much the best sort of thing. And what I will say is for the strats, I noticed that the nut slots were not quite wide enough, and it gave me tuning troubles when I worked the strings around with both tuning and just playing. That was grabbing the strings, so it gave me a little bit of a few issues there, but I went to a luthier and got that released, and there's no troubles. It's an easy thing to get done, but they could have opened up their slots a little bit better, I believe. With the truss rod system, Shijie use the spindle system, which I think is great. I think it's the best. I think it's a lot better than the traditional Allen key that goes down here. Just a lot easier to get to and a lot easier to manage as well. You can see where you've been, and it's just easy to grab and adjust. However, with these with this roasted maple neck, I don't think I will be doing a lot of adjustments, because these necks were so straight. I don't think I have to adjust anything at all. All the guitars, when I got them out of the box, were beautifully dead straight. Their bridge system is a Shijie labelled system, and it looks very similar to that of the Goto 510, which is a very popular and arguably one of the better trem systems out there. I have found it a lot smoother action than the one on my Fender one, and I know they use the Goto 510s on the Suhr guitars, and it is very popular. And if you look at the housing and everything, it is very much identical to that of the Goto 510. Really easy to use, just wind your arm in here and away you go. And they also give you the option of tightening the arm the way it sits in here with an Allen key down this area here. So nice and easy, and it's super smooth action on that. If you look underneath it, it's using a brass block, and it is really nicely finished under there as well. Right, if we get under the hood here, you'll firstly notice that the shielding in here is amazingly thorough and tidily done. So well done there, Shijie, awesome. They use alpha pots, which is pretty much an industry standard, and a 5-way switch. What I will say is I did not like the way they wired the tone. They had the back tone operating not only the bridge, but it was operating the middle of the singles as well. Most people I see and have talked to generally like the back tone to be just operating the bridge only, and they like the middle tone to be operating the front singles up here. However, you might love the way they do it, that's fine. I think that's more of a traditional wiring as well. One thing I did notice when playing, when you drop this volume back to about 8, that the tone dropped substantially. So I have had a treble bleeder put into the volume pot as well, just to give it a nice consistent tone from 0 to 10, and it's much easier that way as well. I'm someone that uses my volume pot a lot. The wood they use in the body is 2-piece alder, and I believe in the Sunburst model it may be 1-piece, so they don't see this join of the wood. You also notice it's got mint green components, give it a nice vintage look, combined with the vintage looking machine heads, which is nice. Respect to the vintage look. Yoo! Right, we get to the pickups. Just remember firstly that pickups are often subjective, so what I like you might not like. But what we will all agree on is we all want the guitar body and the materials and the playability to be at a good level, and backed by good luthiers, as I said before. All I'm going to do is compare these pickups here to that of what I'm used to, being the Suhr ML, which I really like. Anyway, let's get into it. So they call their pickups the Custom 62 made in Japan pickups, and these strat single coils. Like I said, I was prepared to swap them out, but I actually really like them. I think they go well. They've got a nice full warm sound. They call it 62, suggesting it's vintage. I'd say it's more of a modern sound, because these are voiced very similar to that of these Suhr ML pickups. But what I would say is the Suhr ML have more of a focused EQ. The Custom 62 are brighter and have more treble and more bottom end and slightly less mids, but tonally they're actually very similar. Yeah, they put what they call a Custom 59 in here, and I did not really like that pickup, and I've swapped it out. I've swapped it out to a Tone Rider AC4, which I find has a bit more fuller tone. I found their pickup was a little bit jangly and lacked some mid power, but you might absolutely love it. Like I said before, totally subjective. Right, in the TM series they put Seymour Duncan pickups in it. I'm not exactly sure what model of pickups they've got in here, but really nice, really versatile, and I had to play around with these switches to understand what they're doing. Just got the three-way switch opposed to the five-way on the strats. They've got you can split the pickups to single coil on here, and you've also got a booster. This booster is really interesting. It's like it's active. It's got a battery in the back here, 9-volt battery, and it's like a treble and slightly, but punches the gain and the treble into it. Took me a while to get used to it, but I actually really like the feature. And I found this guitar It is really versatile and it covers a lot of ground. I'm actually really taken to this guitar. It's really nice. All the guitars come with the Shijie thick padded soft carry case, and I've actually found it really good. At first I thought I would much prefer a hard case, but actually after using this for a couple of weeks, it's simply so much easier. Just throw your guitar on your back. You've got plenty of nice big pockets to put your gear, both on the back and the front. And as I said, nice big thick pads in here to protect your instrument. Put the guitar on your back and you're away. Put your amp and pedals in your hands and you're done. So much easier, and it seems like a lot of even big companies are going this way. So, and if you do want to get a hard case to tour with or whatever, you can easily do that anyway. Right, all the guitars come with a Shijie guitar pick, all the keys for adjustments. These cool, really nice strap blocks. I've really enjoyed those. I think they're the best strap blocks I've personally used. And this cool little Shijie guitar shaped bits and pieces holder, which is really just a nice touch to the sale. The cost of these guitars was $800 for the standard strats, $1,060 for the custom, and $930 for the TM series guitars, and all those are in US dollars, and yeah, including $150 per guitar for freight. So if you compare those costs with what other guitars are out there with the same specs, I'd say you will be quite impressed. So I'd say do your own homework on that for you to make your own opinions. To summarise, I'm really happy with Shijie's consistency and quality control. All the guitars felt great getting them straight out of the box. I didn't have to do anything to them. All the necks were really straight, and actually two of the guitars were perfectly in tune. The other two only need minor adjustment, which speaks a lot about the flame maple consistency, considering they'd flown from China to New Zealand. The altitude can do damage to necks at times. Nothing needed tweaking at all. The fretwork in all of them, the feel of the necks, everything, all of them have been really consistently bang on point, I think. So well done Shijie there. Those small issues that I spoke about, that being the nut and some of the wiring and maybe the pickups, again that's subjective. Those are just easy to fix things. So overall, really very impressed, and I would recommend them. Obviously Shijie are quite a young brand and don't have the history to that of a Fender or a Gibson or Ibanez or whatever, but they clearly challenge the specs that are going in guitars today, and obviously the price as well. So that might mean a lot to some people with the resale value that something like this might hold opposed to something like that. That's for you to decide, but what I will say to that is I think the internet is exposing a lot more brands, and it challenges some of those mindsets, and it challenges the big wigs in the game. So I think that's a really good thing. I would love to hear your experiences. If you've bought a Shijie guitar, please write in the comments below with your experiences. It'd be helpful for other people, of course. And again, I say, you New Zealand Kiwi dudes are interested in something like this, please contact me. I'd love to get in touch with you. And as I said, I've got a few ideas brewing, and I'd love to make a connection with you. Hey, thanks for listening, guys. Hopefully this has been helpful for you. If you feel like I've missed anything, just write in the comments below or email me, and I'll do my best to answer. Other than that, thank you. Goodbye.